that to me, having a black girl in trouble with the law who lives in an abandoned building
Hey, how's it going everybody? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm Matt and welcome to another React video. Damn it! Welcome to another React video. This will be on a game review about Forspoken, a new game that just came out, which I've heard that not many people like. Now I'm trying to understand, I don't know why people don't like this game, so let's watch this review and we will know. This review is by Eurogamer. I never watched a Eurogamer video before, so this is my introduction to these content creators. And this video is 7 Reasons Forspoken Might Be 2023 Worst Game, which I found really exaggerated because, you know, we barely passed 1 month since we are in 2023. So let's watch the video and see what's going on.
I'm Zoe Delahunty-Light, and don't buy Forspoken. If that's all you take away from this video, then I'll have saved you 70 quid and I can sleep at night. Because Forspoken is absolutely terrible, as you've hopefully already gathered from the title to this video. It's a huge disappointment.
Hello,
as, I don't know about you, but all I've wanted recently is to get stuck into a big game, but Forspoken is not it. And I want to tell you why right now. So, this is 7 Reasons Forspoken is already probably the worst game of 2023.
You gotta live in a month more.
Forspoken has so many cutscenes that just aren't necessary. The game doesn't allow you to walk and talk, when in any other game you'd be locked into a slow walk alongside an NPC as they explain something to you. In Forspoken, you're forced into a cutscene. Now, this wouldn't be so bad if they weren't so frequent. Frey is allowed to walk or run for about 10 seconds, this is not an exaggeration, before the screen fades to black and she's forced into another cutscene that could easily just be a walk and talk.
It seems like this game is very story-based. Just for the few seconds that I listened, it sounds like this game is more about the story than the gameplay, which I can find why people wouldn't like it. Well, but just like with everything else, it depends on how they did it, so that you can know if it's good or not. Because you can live with a lot of cutscenes, but it depends if this is interesting, you know. And many people just don't like watching cutscenes all the time and they just want to play already. Which makes sense. Oh, they counted. I just realized.
Are you sure you should be up and about, Frey?
Part of the story.
Yeah, I'm all good.
As well as being hair-rippingly irritating, this wrecks Forspoken's momentum. Taking control out of your hands so frequently is frustrating, especially as Frey is given parkour powers and stunning magic, only to be constantly tied into cutscenes that soak up time when you just want to go out and explore. It also slows down the story because your mental focus is taken up by having to pay attention to the cutscenes so frequently that it can feel like you don't have much agency overall. I also just don't think a lot of these cutscenes were necessary. When I say this makes me want to scream, I truly mean it, and I'm not gonna lie to you, to my cat's alarm, I did scream a couple of times. That's because you're stuck for about 10 seconds after almost every significant cutscene while Cuff and Frey talk at you.
Well, up until now, the footage of the game are beautiful. I can understand, but it's just so much talking about the cutscenes and the talking. I mean, if that's all the problem with the game, maybe you shouldn't play it, but I personally don't see a problem with that. But yet, I haven't played this game. I don't know enough to say this for certain. I wanted to stop and say that I personally enjoy watching reviews and gameplays and all that, but this is a core value for me when it comes to everything is don't listen to others, judge by yourself, which means that it doesn't matter how horrible this game will sound in this video, I will probably still play it and I will judge it myself.
What the hell are these things? Are they people?
I believe this is what happens when humans are affected by the break.
And you cannot move. Because Forspoken doesn't allow you to walk and talk, like I mentioned before, Frey is locked into staying completely still until her and Cuff are done quipping at each other. I might hate the amount of cutscenes in the game, but I'd rather a cutscene than not permitting me to move at all. I'm no developer, but I don't think a walk and talk could be that difficult to implement, so I really don't know why this wasn't an option.
And I will explain why it wasn't an option. So first of all, if you play games, just like she said in this video, if you play most of the games, like Rockstar games in general, GTA and Red Dead Redemption, and Ubisoft games like Assassin's Creed, for example, and many more, you can walk together with another character and they are talking between each other, and then you get to a point where there's a trigger box that you are triggering a cutscene and you missed all the dialogue beforehand. Now, in many cases those dialogues are not important to the story, but many cases they are, and you are not really you're not too much into sorry, you can't really go back and listen to what they had to say. And in some cases, in my opinion, in how I play, in how much I like story-based games, I usually walk very slow or standing on the spot just to listen to the word. Now, this is probably the audience. This is probably the audience that the developer aimed for those who like to listen to the story and its components. Now, I do think that it's pretty tough to play the game, and when they are talking, they're just standing there and you have nothing to do, just looking around. I understand that, and it can be frustrating, especially if it's not interesting, just like in Battlefield 3. And I can understand why it's frustrating. I can understand it, why it's frustrating and it's annoying. And yes, probably most people wouldn't like it. And you can say it was a bad decision. You can't say that, but I'm not really sure.
Forspoken's world is hollow. Athia is a world where 99% of the population has died, yet it looks like the world never had any life in it to begin with. There is nothing in the landscapes to make them feel dynamic or like they were once lived in. There are no roads, soulless, empty hamlets with repeated assets and houses you can't enter, with brown cliffs and crevices and open plains. I find it strange that the pilgrim refuges are standing in good condition when villages are in ruin. It just doesn't make sense. You'd hope that if the open world was bad, at least the key hub would be decent, but no. The key hub of Sepal also has no soul. In Sepal, I felt like I was walking through a cardboard prop-up town, with strange open spaces devoid of set dressing and paper-mache facades made to look like buildings. It's a really weird thing to try and explain, but just look at this footage. Repeating textures were painfully obvious in Sepal 2, which I thought, as a civilization, we had progressed beyond. Nothing looks right. It doesn't look like people live here, and I got the sense that it was supposed to be a breath of fresh air from the dangerous outer world. but honestly, I'd rather be fighting something than running through pointlessly long streets with dead-eyed NPCs staring at me.
I have no idea. I honestly don't think that there's a major issue that, I mean, every open world game has duplication in texture and things like that. So I don't know what the problem is. I will give her that the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the houses. All right, those houses, those villagers. I mean, in most games you can't really get into the buildings, which is not really a complaint. It's just an observation. And on the other hand, there are some parts where you see that the whole town is broken and only the shelter area is not. So yeah, that's a bit weird. There might be a reason for it, but it's probably not a good enough reason to do it that way. But, you know.
Frey herself kicked off Forspoken's awful dialogue by just straight up saying this.
Nobody does anything nice without wanting something in return. I have trust issues.
Do you trust me?
What you and I have is an unholy alliance at best.
I don't know what happened to show don't tell, but honestly, whatever at this point. I really, really wanted to like Frey. Cuff is an irritating, cheap Wheatley knockoff and is so unlikable. He's snide and pompous while not being kind enough in other moments to balance out his sarcastic side. It's like the writers only watched Marvel movies and Joss Whedon's stuff to prepare for writing Forspoken and base their entire script off of those two sections of media. Quips in this magnitude just aren't funny and are horribly predictable in a very cringe way. If I hear one more quip, I swear to God. The NPCs also have awful swollen faces and look dead behind the eyes, and honestly for their sake I hope they are. The dialogue in Forspoken does the opposite of what it's meant to do. Instead of engrossing you in the characters and their world, it takes you out of it when you hear some of these exchanges.
If there aren't any monsters lurking in here, I'll eat my hat.
Oh, I would pay to see that.
It's best to assume I'm right for now, though, eh? Careful.
Alright, so I just don't understand this kind of complaint. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Oh, they took something from somewhere else. They took dialogues, ideas from somewhere else. Well, what new? It's just like this in everything, every media, alright? It's everywhere. There's no real, there are no real original things, alright? This is one of the complaints that I never really took to heart because, well, a good example, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, all right? Assassin's Creed Syndicate had major flaws, and many people, and I, by the way, really like that game, but many people hated the main characters. On the other hand, I really enjoyed the main characters. So, do you think that I'm the only one that like those characters because of the way that they're acting and the thing that they're saying? No. Some people like it, some people don't. That's great. But I wouldn't take it, I personally wouldn't take it as a flaw for the game, as something to use against the game. Some people like these kind of characters, some people don't. You can't go and just complain about every Marvel movie that ever had when you clearly have a major fan base for the MCU specifically, all right? So, I can't take what you say there. I'm sorry, Zoe.
Traversing the open world with magic parkour and the combat magic is actually fairly good. However, when you mix the two, it just doesn't really seem to work the way it should. Parkour is essential to combat in Forspoken as you're very squishy, and a lot of enemies need to be attacked from behind to deal the most damage. However, during combat,
games
the
actually like
parkour
this.
controls are all thumbs. So, to compensate, there's an aggressive auto-aim you're kind of forced to rely on when you're fighting mid-movement, as you just can't move the camera where you actually want it that easily. Re-dodging, during fights when I try to put some distance between myself and my foes, which you're actively supposed to do because parkour is such a big focus of Forspoken, the game would dodge me out of the way instead of just letting me run, as the controls to dodge and to use parkour are the same. So when I try to run out of the way, I would instead dodge, which didn't put enough distance between myself and the enemy, resulting in poor old Frey getting caught up in their attacks. It feels like the combat and the parkour weren't tested enough together, because although there are moments where the combat and the parkour come together to make you feel amazingly powerful and fast, there are also these moments where Frey feels incredibly clumsy.
Maybe she is, as a character. I don't know. Alright, so let me stop right there and say, I agree, alright? I agree. When it comes to games where the button of evading and the button of jumping and evading, for example, it's annoying. It's annoying. It can really be frustrating when you are fighting. I understand that completely. However, there's no however here. Period.
The tragic thing about Forspoken...
Have you noticed that it's every time the tragic here, the tragic there, the tragic here? I mean, I can take you... No, you know what? I will not say that.
...is that there was so much potential. For the record, there are things I do like about the game. I love the UI's aesthetic, the fact your nails can be imbued with different powers, the magic system is really fun to play around with, the costume design is creative, its broad story is semi-compelling, and the enemy design is sick. Despite all of this, the game is a complete letdown. I'm sure you've heard that code was really hard to get a hold of ahead of release, and I can honestly see why. None of these elements make up for the disappointment of the bulk of the game, yet they do show that there were kernels of promise in Forspoken. As a middle-class white woman, I am not the right person.
I enjoyed the moment that she said there are a few good things about the game. I did not mean to disregard everything she just said. I just disagree at some specific points, so don't hold it up against me, I guess.
To talk about this in depth, so I'm going to keep this short. All I'm going to say is that to me, having a black girl in trouble with the law who lives in an abandoned building, being arrested as soon as she enters a fantasy world, and called a monster by a white crowd felt incredibly problematic.
Move, monster!
Hey, the fuck you calling monster?
The monster speaks!
Yeah, of course I speak. What's your pointy stick away, asshole?
Move!
Alright!
I urge you to read articles and watch videos from black writers and creators about Forspoken, because they are the people we have to be listening to. Give me my time back, Forspoken. Usually at this point I'd ask you if you were going to pick up the game and to let me know in the comments below, but please don't do that. Instead, let me know in the comments what game you are looking forward to this year, as I could really do with a light at the end of the tunnel right now. If you enjoyed this video and me exercising all of the reasons I think Forspoken is not worth your hard-earned money, then thanks very much, I guess, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer, as we have a new video out almost every single day. Now, I'm going to go and play literally anything else except for Forspoken, so I'll see you lot next time.
Alright, so here's my issue. Here's my issue at the end of the video. Alright, I don't mind that the game will be about anything. Alright? Anything. I wouldn't care one bit if the main character was the Jew, and it would just go to a place where they have the what do you say, the swastika, and they are calling that Jew a monster. I wouldn't mind about that. And I'm a Jew, by the way. My grandparents were in the Holocaust. So I really wouldn't mind about that. And to be honest, I'm not saying that anyone else should feel the same way that I am. But what bothers me that those kind of thinking are going into the gaming medium. Sorry. I mean, it bothered me that we are politicizing this kind of game, this kind of story, that people want to criticize everything. I mean, it just drives me crazy. In this case specifically, I didn't know about that, but when I think about it, what happened right there, it's what they said, and a black woman get into a white area and they act like this, act badly towards her, but together with that, she gets her powers and she's being badass. I mean, there's more than one message here, and what bothers me is that this review at the end of it, and just like she said, black content creators, what they think about it, I'm sure they didn't like it. I'm sure. I got nothing to say about that. Everyone deserves their own opinion. I'm neither with or against it. I have no opinion on this matter, but my problem here is that you're putting it in the gaming community, and I wish that people wouldn't do that. I wish that people just play games, enjoy the games, you know, just be happy with what we have and stop trying to look at it politically. I mean, that really bothers me there. This specific part really bothered me, that it needed to be talked about in this video or any review. But hey, as I said, people have their own opinion and we all should respect that. Now, this is the end of the video. I really enjoyed this video in general, and if you enjoyed it as well, please let me know in the comment below, and if you didn't, let me know as well. I'm Matt, and if you are here up until now, I hope you really enjoyed this content. Don't forget, leave a like, subscribe, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful night. I'll see you next time, and don't forget, enjoy your games.